Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Bundesliga Show, brought to you by Over the Bar. Checking in this evening for a match week 3 review of another excellent weekend of Bundesliga footy. As you can see, I'm joined by Peter this fine evening, although it's probably not evening where you are, Peter. How are you?
It is not evening where I am here in the city of brotherly love, but I am en route back to Europe and can't wait to check out the world's best football indeed live. For the time being, we have quite a great deal of interesting things to discuss from this weekend. I believe everybody scored a brace, huh? Did you scored a brace? Did you not, Rory?
Well, I mean, maybe on Saturday, but our boys, many boys were bagging braces all over the place. So yeah, it was a great weekend of football overall. It's not often I get my way where my Saturday team won, followed by United winning, followed by Stuttgart winning, followed by Liverpool losing. So yeah, we love that. Absolutely love that. What a great Saturday it was. But yeah, loads to get into tonight. So it's quite a bumper show for you. So we're going to do match week 3 review, featured for best of the rest. But we're also going to do a bit of a Champions League preview for the 5 German representatives right at the end of the show as well. Just have a quick look at their fixtures, how far we think each of the 5 teams may well go this season. So very much looking forward to getting stuck into it. So thank you all for joining us. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. And whilst you're enjoying, you might as well leave us a thumbs up as well. Comment along, let us know your thoughts and theories. Match week 3. How are your team's doing? Anything, let us know. Very much welcome all comments and questions. And of course, make sure to subscribe and turn on those notifications. Don't forget to check out our 2 brilliant partners, who, of course, are the Bundesliga boxes, who you can find at Bundesliga boxes on X, as well as the fantastic Bully News as well. Great fun doing our fantasy draft, our second version of that last week. I am loath to admit that I didn't bring in Junior Adumu after Runa's excellent tip. I went a slightly different direction and have greatly regretted it ever since. But yeah, that's where you get all your tips and hints. Right then, let's get stuck into it, Peter. So featured 4, we're going to run through this for about 45 minutes. And we're going to, again, just kind of stick to it chronologically speaking. And we got another Friday night banger. Really entertaining game between Dortmund and Heidenheim. The away side eventually have lost their unbeaten streak. This was a highly entertaining game. I think we all knew it would be. The draw that we both called didn't come to pass, although it did look like it could have been on at times, or certainly a draw when it went back to 3-2 at that stage. But yeah, Dortmund got out the blocks fast. I think it's fair to say from an attacking perspective they were very good all night. And I don't think we haven't done Dortmund yet. On one of our featured 4 segments, because they've been involved in a couple of low-scoring matches. We've done our preview shows and predictions and uncovered them, but I don't think we've gone into a great deal of depth around Dortmund, and we've given Heidenheim loads of praise, and we'll kind of cover them, whilst we're talking about this match, Peter. But you gave him a shout out on the prediction show, Karim the Dream. Back in 2 goals, 2 very nice finishes, very clinical, was involved in a lot that Dortmund did well going forwards, summarised by their really clean and clinical counter-attack for their second goal, which of course he finished. He was involved in Marlon's goal, setting him up, driving inside. I thought it was a very well-rounded performance by Dortmund, especially going forwards. What did you make of the game, and what did you make of Dortmund overall?
Well, this is something of a surprise. You are right. We have not covered Dortmund directly on this show. I, of course, been tracking Dortmund tactics from the beginning. And Sahin was always engaging in this rather unorthodox 3-4-3, in which both Malen and Jamie Gittens were serving as a left wing back. I believe that Adeyemi even served as one as well for a brief call after he moved back from his lead striker role. When the team sheet came out for this, I wasn't quite sure what to make of the tactics. Eventually, what settled in was a rather straightforward 4-2-3-1, with Rami Bensebaini getting his long-awaited second chance in the left-back role. Felix Demecha making a comeback from injury, actually supplanting the captain Emre Can alongside Pascal Gross. That was quite interesting, as we thought that tandem was quite effective. And what ultimately ended up happening was Karim Adeyemi and Daniel Malen settled in on the wings. Your boy from Stuttgart made a rather unexpected early debut for Die Schwarz-Gelben. That was Serhou Guirassy, up there as lead striker, as intended, after being signed on in the summer. This was, I think, an incredibly vibrant and impressive performance from Dortmund all throughout. As a matter of fact, I would not scoreline fool you. The first Heidenheim goal was conceded due to some lax defending off of a throw-in, I believe. And it was a very sumptuous cross from Omar Hakhtab Traore. Not much could be done about that. Then, of course, we had, along with a lot of braces in the Bundesliga this weekend, we had plenty of soft penalties as well. And Matthias Borch, good news for fantasy players out there who are in the draft show, was able to convert from the spot. Dortmund themselves got a penalty later, which was a legitimate one. Traore's handball, I think, on Niki Süle there in the box. So, yes, what an incredible performance. I think that this was. The first two goals were spectacular. The counter work, the teamwork on the second goal was simply amazing. Malen was unleashed on the counter. He had options left and right. He opted for Julian Brandt, and Brandt was able to service Adeyemi with a very, very, very slick heel there. On Adeyemi's other goal, Guirassy, who had an incredibly strong debut, really just looked excellent. There was a rather clever leave there from the Ghanaian international, the former Stuttgart player. Guirassy himself, I hope that I'm getting my footballing parlance correct here. I don't know if I picked this up from American or English parlance, but what we would call that would be a tricycle kick off the volley. So a bicycle kick being an overhead kick, and a tricycle kick being one in which one approximately shoots at a 90-degree angle with one's favorite foot.
Yeah.
So that was incredible. Lots and lots of positives to take from this match for Dortmund. Actually, it was a great international break for Dortmund too. They had a benefit match in which Jurgen Klopp returned, and Nuri Sahin, as a matter of fact, got on the pitch and played in a Dortmund tricot, which I think might have had some effect in riling the team up. But this was quite the unexpected performance from Dortmund, and I would like to say that at least I got one tip right on the prediction show when it came to Karim Adeyemi. He obviously scored 5 goals for the Germany U21s over the international break. Add this brace, and he scored 7 goals, Karim the Dream, as you call him, in his last 3 competitive fixtures across all competitions. So, yes, I'll be curious to know if there's some weak points that you saw in the BVB performance there, Rory, and perhaps I'm shortchanging Heidenheim a little bit. I don't think it was a very good performance from them, but if you have some things to add to that, be my guest.
Yeah, I think if Heidenheim had played better, then there would have been opportunities for them to have taken a point. I wanted to go on record by saying that Dortmund played well right at the start, which I did say. You can call me VfB biased here, but I think that Anton doesn't do great for the first goal, and you pointed out that it's a good cross from Traore. I just think he gets lost a little bit and gets stuck under the ball from a centre half bit of play. But sometimes you have to give credits to the man who's delivering the ball and how it's finished. So I would say that. I thought Ryerson had a really strong game actually at right back, so I didn't have any issues in that sense. Bensebaini was functional, although he did do his standard trick of diving in way too much and often allowing whether it was Traore or someone else, to get down that side of the pitch. So that felt an easy way in for me. But overall, I thought, Dortmund were very solid. I think, I felt the best performer out of that. Well, Riasson was strong, but I thought Sula was strong as well. Overall, really good work from Dortmund. I think it's the best that we've seen from them. I don't think that we could have expected Heidenheim's lovely run to go on much longer. And it did cave for the first time this season. The fact that they've gone to Dortmund, scored 2 goals, were in a match right until the end, obviously, which you mentioned, the penalty, and played in most parts fairly averagely is something to certainly take, wouldn't you, as a Heidenheim supporter and fan? So I think there's certainly things for them just to wipe the slate clean and crack on, basically, from this point onwards. But highly entertaining start to our weekend. I think the Friday night fixture is well and truly back. I do agree with you as well. I don't want to say his name, but Seru, he had a strong debut, as I expected him to. The kind of the fake or the layover that he plays for the third goal is just great instincts and great striking play. No surprise, and the goals will no doubt come very soon for them. So I always said this, and I'll hold to it. I think Dortmund have a lot of potential this season, but I know there's been worries about the way that Sahin has been employing it so far. But that maybe the foundations are something for us to keep an eye on for the weeks to come, certainly from Dortmund. Right then, we shall move on to our next game. And again, playing at this chronologically, we'll go to Saturday afternoon. And Saturday afternoon brought a number of good games, but we're focusing in on the champions, who got a predictable away win in Hoffenheim, and it was high scoring and a highly entertaining affair, especially with the way that Hoffenheim decided to defend once more. I think this was a game for Victor Boniface, really not coming back, but putting down a serious performance, and something that in the sense of outcomes, 2 goals and an assist. I think he started the season strongly, but hadn't maybe announced himself so much. But really good game from him. Laying on a goal for Terrier, who has, since that red card in the Super Cup, has worked his way into the Leverkusen team and played very well. Florian Wirtz up to his old tricks. Very, very good performance overall, getting on the score sheet as well. I was pleased for Berisha to pick up that goal because he's had a rough time with it with injuries, and he really was a player that we enjoyed watching before his Hoffenheim move. Hasn't happened yet. Maybe that's a really good source of productivity that they can get from him. Peter, if we move to it's not the elephant in the room anymore because we talk about it all the time, but Hoffenheim defensively, having rewatched the game, seen the highlights, and done my own research on this, it's too repetitive to keep on seeing these, whether it was the high line or the back three being straddled everywhere in terms of who's going to press, maybe trying to make a tackle, and then leaving, whether it was Stach or someone else like that, incredibly deep to play, Boniface or whoever on side. What did you make of it? And we can get on to maybe the Leverkusen side of the performance after that.
Yes, more just absolute tactical conflagrations from Hoffenheim. This time, Florian Grillitsch returned to anchor the back three. Anton Stach moved up to pair with Dennis Geiger in a double six setup. As I was discussing in our last review show, I really didn't see Geiger play six, and I didn't see him do so again in this particular instance. The two most egregious errors, of course, belong to Tim Drexler and Alexander Prass. Drexler perhaps too inexperienced to fill in on that back line, and Prass playing slightly out of position. That's something we mention about Hoffenheim all of the time. A lot was really made easy for Leverkusen in this fixture. Also, I mean, the amount of times that the TSG were caught offside by Leverkusen's simple 3-4-3 was ridiculous. I mean, there was just nothing but offside whistles for a good bit of the first half, which shows not only trouble at the back, but great difficulty in building up the attack. The lone goal, we had a marking error from Hincapié, and Kramaric was also left all alone to cross the ball into the box. So we had some issues on the Leverkusen side. Really, I mean, what was the XG on this? It was, let's see, 3.65, but we had a penalty to 1.08. So more or less a fair result. If you take that penalty out of the equation, then Leverkusen weren't quite as dominant as the scoreline suggested. It's difficult to say much about what this tells us about Leverkusen, really, because Boniface, it had some the counters on which he scored, and also the one in which he set up Terrier were just, I mean, it was too easy for him. The third goal was quite some slick footwork there from the Nigerian. It's funny, in the mixed zone, I think he was just tired after a long day. They asked him, about his fancy footwork, and he said, "I don't remember how I scored." And they described it for him, and he was like, "I don't remember that." So it'd probably been a long day for a Nigerian fan. I have to mention Hoffenheim's off the pitch issues yet again. We've been talking about this throughout the season, and Oliver Baumann gave a post-match. The captain and keeper gave a post-match interview in which he asked for more support from the fans. What's going on as this story continues to develop is that there are still atmosphere boycotts in the Hoffenheim stands. Maybe people haven't noticed because the Sinsheimer stands are not exactly the most loud one in the beginning. But we not only have some of the supporters groups engaging in boycotts, but we also have the club shutting down some stands and increasing security in response to threats of protest actions from the fans. All of this stems from the sacking of the sporting director, Alexander Rosen. They've cycled through two chairmen and one chairwoman in the last 3 months. And basically what we're getting now, the latest on this story from Germany's preeminent footballing publication, I was just reading about it today, is that Rosen was sacked because he had sort of a more parsimonious transfer window in mind. He had pragmatic transfer window in mind. And he was let go because the club wanted to get the money flowing again. And Rosen was sort of the guardian of this club's return to 50+1. And the board wanted all of the money that Dietmar Hopp gave them as a benefactor in the initial days of this club. So they sacked Rosen. They get the money flowing again. Has it been proven that Dietmar Hopp is actually supplying this money? It doesn't need to be proven. What's happening is that his company is funneling in money to this club in violation of 50+1. And Mark and I have already been to Sinsheim. You hate to talk about going to the same place twice because you want to mix it up, you want to vary it up. But I'm somehow foreseeing a little trip for Mark and I in the future, maybe down to the Prezero Arena, because we want to check out this protest movement. We want to see what these supporters have to say. They have something to say. The problem is that because it's Hoffenheim, not a lot of Germans are listening, but we'll listen and we'll see what they have to say. this club is in full implosion mode. I mean, the rumors this week that they're talking with Sandro Wagner to replace Pellegrino Matarazzo. This club is going to be a disaster this year. I would wager safe money on anyone playing against Hoffenheim. We're not doing an Europa League preview, but please do not wager on Hoffenheim. Yeah, it's a mess. We'll see what we can do here at Over the Bar to get more nuance in the conversation. If I didn't already add too much nuance already, I don't know. I'm happy to pass on to you so we can get to the next match. But that's
no. I mean, yeah, like you say, you're the man on the ground for us. You're a lot more on the ball with what is going on at Hoffenheim. And so it doesn't sound good right now. So far they've done what they were expected to do by beating Kiel, but other than that, from a performance base, yeah, they're struggling. The one thing that we know has always got them out of trouble is their ability to score quite a lot of goals and well backed up by a good attacking squad of players. But yeah, like you mentioned, if their struggles to build up attacks against Leverkusen's defensive line states a bit of struggling. They'll need other players, they'll need Kramaric, Hlozek to do well, Berisha, etc. Baby when he comes back, etc. to really push them forward performance wise. And we'll have to see what their methodology is in the January transfer window as well. But yeah,
it might be illegal. So.
Well, yes, it might be illegal, but they might still do it. But yeah, Leverkusen, I think like we expected, it would be a handsome away win. Not much learnt from them. A bit of rotation here and there by Xabi Alonso, I think, obviously ahead of the Champions League starting this week. But yeah, good away win for the champs. On to Saturday night football, and the top spiel was a game that was done and dusted after 13 minutes, I think it was, or something like that. Yeah. But no, I think it's important to talk about this game because there were 7 goals in it. It was as one of the next 2 games that we're featuring are obviously going to be about 2 of our newly promoted teams, or both of our newly promoted teams, and very much how they're struggling. The one thing that really frustrated me about Holstein Kiel on Saturday night was, whatever happens for the first goal, obviously in 13 seconds or whatever it was, is a bit of, maybe a slightly botched first clearance, and then the ball just breaks well for Musiala and he scores. So if I'm being super, super generous, I can maybe put that down to a bit of misfortune with a mistake in the mix. But thereafter, I just don't get the logic in trying to play your way out of a press or trying to play your way out from the back. You've got Bayern in town. Within, regardless if you have the first bit of possession or not, you've got to go old school. You have to play it onto Bayern. And you know what? If it's ugly and hard to watch and it doesn't bring you much, then maybe switch up and try to play a little bit more whilst you're only 1-0 or 2-0 down and you've got a bit more confidence. I just feels a little bit, one plan sensical to me that it just has to be tiki-taka from the back. We have to play our way out because that's the rules of modern day football. And I just don't get it. So that's obviously where goals 2 and 3 come from. Musiala, Kane, most of the Bayern playing squad were and are just on a different level to Kiel's players. And I don't think that's disrespectful saying that. At least I hope it's not, because I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I think that's just a matter of fact as to what Kiel would expect. So yeah, the game was done early doors. Kiel were obviously trying to fight for pride thereafter. For Bayern's sake, obviously they could rest players at half time. Obviously Musiala was brought off. Elise managed to get his first Bundesliga goal. And Kane managed to convert a hat trick late on. So for fantasy football players, if you didn't captain him, you're in big trouble. Obviously for Kiel's sake, getting that goal was a nice snippet in otherwise a very miserable Saturday evening in northern Germany. Peter, I mean, breaking this down, what did you think about Kiel? Have I gone over the top? What do you reckon?
No, not at all. It was, I think you got, from a tactical perspective, you got it spot on. Marcel Rapp was not permitted to coach his team from the sidelines, but he commented afterwards that his strategy was to get as many players behind the ball as possible. And it was such that they lined up in this 4-3-3. And it was such that you saw, it was a 4-3-3 that sort of morphed into a 7-2-1 off the ball. And that's how you get Lewis Holtby making that blackout pass directly into the path of Serge Gnabry on Kane's first goal.
Yeah.
And Lewis Holtby, not an inexperienced Bundesliga player at all. I mean, he's actually made over 200 appearances, though it has been a little while since he appeared in the German top flight.
Mm-hmm.
This 4-3-3, it was ridiculous, and it was pretty. I think by the time that Michael Elise scored, he was just too embarrassed to even celebrate. Kiel had stopped playing at that point. They really didn't have anything to play for. The goal that the Storks did score was a co-production between Pukac, the FC Union Berlin wingback who played at Lautern last year and actually did very, very well in the Pokal, and Armin Gigovic, who was another one of the new summer additions. So you have some flicker of hope there, along with some of the experience that we talked about. But this was effectively a no contest. I will say that the third goal, that was pure Musiala magic, really. He read it incredibly well when Weiner was coming for the ball, and then he did all of that nice little dancing. That is, I don't care what Dietmar Hamann has to say about Jamal Musiala. I absolutely do not care. The criticism that was leveled at him this week was absurd. So. There's not much of a football match to discuss here, really. Congratulations to Harry Kane on netting that hat trick. He did. That was another soft penalties and braces, kind of the theme of the weekend in the Bundesliga this year. But that's pretty much all there is to say about this fixture. It was a top spiel for a few minutes, but before we had got to a quarter of an hour played, it was over.
It was, yeah. I think summarized by Elise not celebrating his goal, which felt a bit strange considering, first goal in Bayern colours, maybe the levels of ease at which they were playing at that point, and felt bad as well because the goal comes from obviously Alphonso Davies cutting in, getting a shot off, and Weiner in nets does pretty well to get a good save and pushes it out relatively far. But then his defence just can't react to either get a block in or clear the ball before it gets to Elise. And his reaction just summed it up for me. He was so annoyed because he, actually made the save in the first place, and it was still for absolutely no reason because the goal, the ball goes in the back of the net anyhow. Kiel have a lot of work to do, and they're be interesting to see what the fan reaction is locally right now as to whether they don't really care and they're just there to enjoy themselves. They won't enjoy themselves if they play like that against anyone, I dare say. Especially with Bayern in town. So, unfortunately for our Bundesliga new boys, wasn't to be against Bayern. homework and work for them to do to get their first points. They need to tighten up big time, I think. And let's move on to our last game of our featured four. And it's going to be the Sunday afternoon game between Augsburg and St Pauli, which obviously finished 3-1 to the home side, which I predicted, just hint, hint, wink, wink, on Thursday. I was so glad that Kabadai got that last goal. I was like, yes, I got it right. But yeah, very much needed first win of the season for Augsburg. Of course, they got the home draw first match of the season, so it means that they have not lost yet at home, and they'll need to be very, very strong in that sense. And game of two halves in a sense, really, for me. That obviously the home side started off fairly strongly and had a couple of big chances. I think one of the first big chances was Sende getting on the end of the cross from Vargas at the far post, which he should really put in the back of the net. It's well saved in the end, but I think if you're a clinical striker, you lift it over the keeper when you see him coming. So yeah, 0-0 at the half, but definitely a half that was owned by the home side. Schlotterbeck almost had a goal from a header as well. So definitely the home side enjoying more of it. And then they did get their just rewards eventually. Well, they didn't have to wait long into the second half after the very lively Marius Wolf cuts inside perfectly well and finishes excellently to make it 1-0 for the home side. I thought he had a really bright game, actually. Forgetting the goal, I thought he was absolutely impressive for his new club. And then, they made it 2-0. Excellent work from another new boy, Onyeka. Obviously, he's come over from Brentford. He was excellent, I thought. Absolutely fantastic performance in the middle of that Augsburg midfield. He put in a delightful cross for substitute Tietz to finish off very nicely on the volley as well, to make it 2-0 and give the home side a bit of breathing room. But from that point onwards, Pauli did react, and I thought they came into the game. Halftime substitute, let me get his name right because I'm still learning everyone. Elias Saad from Pauli came on at halftime, I believe, and he had a really good impact in the game. I thought very bright, involved in a lot of their attacking play on both sides of the pitch. He was moving around everywhere. Puts in a lovely cross for Bukalfa to score. And I think the commentators were saying, I could be wrong on this, that it was his first start in 2 seasons or 2 years. So yeah, great for him to flick the head in for 2-1. And then they came on strong, Pauli, for a while after that. Obviously the biggest chance or biggest moment probably being the save from Laborovic off the Sard half volley into the ground. And it looked like it was destined for the back of the net, but that was a good save. And yeah, Pauli were, really pushing forwards, but Augsburg managed to break forward in the end. Kabadai. So is he a loan signing from Bayern or?
Yes, correct.
Yeah. Does really well to finish calmly to make it 3-1 and finish the game. I think, good performance from Tietz overall for Augsburg. He did well in terms of holding the ball up. Very strong, won some important fouls towards the end of the match to just relieve a bit of pressure for Augsburg, and they managed to break, obviously, to make it 3-1. Much better from the home side. For me, I thought they were well deserving of their victory, although Pauli did come back into it. What did you reckon to this one, Peter? I know we're a little bit unsure what to expect with this game, but Pauli, just a little bit too little, too late in the end, or just maybe not quite taking their chances either?
This was one of two matches in which over which you and I split the difference in the prediction show. Freiburg, Bochum being the other one, and you did mention Junior Adamu, another brace scorer this weekend. In my defense, if I could, I mean, I said on that show that your prediction was also perfectly legitimate. The question was coming into this was, could Jes Torup get all of these new actors that he's gotten over what's been a highly intriguing and highly successful transfer window into place in time?
Mm-hmm.
We have the answer to that question now. He absolutely was able to do so, though the opponent had weaknesses. And I would like to point out that Amadin Demirovic, your new Stuttgart signing, who also scored a brace this weekend, stepped over to Augsburg for a little sending off, a little farewell ceremony before kickoff, as did Nicholas Dorsch, who went to Heidenheim, kind of a trip from Heidenheim to Augsburg. But that really fired up the home crowd, and the crowd was definitely behind them 100%. Mark and I, of course, been to the VWK Arena a couple times. We know how Augsburg can really rally the troops if they have excellent support on any given afternoon. The first half from Augsburg, of course, was nevertheless pretty choppy, and there were a lot of unorthodox attacking charges, attacking flurries in front of the net. And of course, you had that Sende miss in the 45th at the beginning of first half injury time. But overall, this new set of tactics, what we got to look at, what I got to look at in any case, was a really strange 3-5-2. You could also call it a 3-4 huge freaking gap 2-1, in which you had Rexbahai and Vargas playing behind Essende. Wolf is a very, I mean, on the line sort of wing back. He's partnering with Giannoulis, who is also a new summer signing.
Yep.
You mentioned the fact that Schlotterbeck had some good chances, new summer signing. Labrovic, also new summer signing, very good goalkeeping from him. And
Yes.
I will second the motion on Frank Onyeka, who's a player I was so excited to watch. I don't know much about him from his Brentford days, but I know about his work with the Nigerian national team. And I was really pleased that they picked him up on deadline day. And not only did he set up that goal, the one that ultimately ended up proving the game winner for the just subbed on Philip Tietz, received massive amount of praise from all of his teammates. Elvis Rexbahai praised him. Tietz obviously praised him for servicing the goal. Wolf thought he was great. Torup singled him out for praise as well. So I think we can really look forward to watching him. I mean, it's been a very good offseason for Augsburg. I also think that getting Marius Wolf on a free was an excellent get. He commemorated scoring for 5 top-tier Bundesliga sides. That's Dortmund, Hertha, Köln, and Augsburg. And who am I forgetting? Who else did he score for? Help me out, Rory.
Beyond me. Beyond Dortmund.
Yeah, Wolf was, I mean, he was always a Dortmund player, but he was loaned out like 6 times. And so he was always playing everywhere but Dortmund. And then when he finally settled in at Dortmund, he actually got called up to the German national team. That Flick era. He was capped 5 times. So, I mean, I think he's an excellent get. And yeah, I mean, with Pauli, yeah, I mean, I'm still more optimistic about them than I am about Kiel. I think that, Blessin, he has been sticking with this system. He was, really very much undercut by the fact that Willa Vogi had to go off injured. That messed with his tactics a lot. You can see kind of how it's supposed to work, and there's a lot of positives for St. Pauli. I think they're like 3rd, 4th, or 5th in the lead in possession. They rack up entering this match at the very least. They racked up more kilometers per game than any other team. They really didn't. They only allowed 3 or 6 legitimate scoring chances through the first 2 rounds entering this game. 3 of them went in the back of the net. So, I mean, they're sputtering. I don't know what the solution is beyond starting Elias Saad, which you absolutely have to do after his second half performance.
Yep.
But I mean, I think that there's still some hope for them. Whereas for Kiel, I mean, we're just, it's time to start watching handball in Schleswig-Holstein before too long.
Yeah.
Congratulations on tipping it correctly, and we have an answer to our question about Torhoek.
Yes, quite. Unfortunately, it doesn't get any easier for Pauli because they next host Leipzig and then travel to Freiburg. So not necessarily overly presentable fixtures, although the way that Leipzig played at the weekend, who knows? Right then, so that is our featured 4 covered, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to move on and talk about the best of the rest games that happened across the weekend. Then we'll finish off with a bit of UEFA Champions League previewing. So just covering all bases, talking of RB Leipzig, obviously they were very much frustrated at home to Union. Obviously the big headline from this being the Openda penalty miss, although both teams only had 3 shots on target across the full game, so showing that Union were as good as they were for the draw, and I think it was Galacci was called into action from a Rorter header, I want to say, from a corner, which was a really good save. So, 0-0 for Leipzig. Just, that's such a Leipzig performance and such a Leipzig thing to do, isn't it? Whilst we have time, Peter, any more thoughts on Leipzig and Union?
Openda missed a penalty. He missed a penalty for the Belgian national team as well over the international break. And he also missed a crucial penalty for Leipzig against Augsburg. I think that was round 21 last season. Marco Rosa says he's not going to start designated penalty takers for the German Red Bulls, but now might not be a bad time, or at least put a little pressure on the team. Let's not have Lois take those penalties.
Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. But a good point for Union on the road. We've kind of half mentioned them, but a Junior Adumu brace managed to help Freiburg come from behind for the second time this season. Obviously, they did it against Stuttgart to get another win. Very much in the ascendancy for a large majority of this game because they had an XG of 4.67, which is entirely dominant with 27 shots on goal. But having said that, of course, the away side went ahead through Myron Boadu, one of their new signings, and it could well have been 2-0 if it weren't for that Atabolu save where Mayoshi has the effort from about halfway. And I can't decide whether it's probably a bit of a mix of absolutely shocking goalkeeping positioning to start with and then excellent recovery work. But anyway, it could have been 2-0 to the away side and we could have been talking about a different result. But 2 goals for Adumu now in the Bundesliga. Really, really important. Puts away his penalty. And very, very happy times for Freiburg to get the win. Moving on to another game that finished 2-1, which was a well-earned victory for Frankfurt against Wolfsburg, where we saw yet another brace, this time for Omar Marmoush, who was excellent in his performance, very well supported by, again, the likes of Ekitike, and as well as some good shout-outs for the likes of Tuta. Teat again has come into the side and done very, very well indeed. The sole
Wolfsburg goal being by Baku. Very nice finish in that sense. Peter, any thoughts on those last two games that I've mentioned? You're on mute, Peter.
Sorry. Very, very sorry to hear of Merlin Rowe's injury. It should be interesting to see who fills in at 10 for Freiburg over the next few weeks. Bochum nearly made my dream come true. Koji Miyoshi, as you mentioned, excellent assist and probably could have had a goal himself. I think he could be the new Takuma Asano, but I've thought things like that before. And with Frankfurt, we did have some officiating controversies, but no matter. Wolfsburg are still terrible. I don't like them at all. And, congratulations to Marmouche on scoring a brace against his former club.
Yeah, and he was not shy to celebrate. For when you see obviously a lot of players giving the respect. And then our other two games were a first win of the season as well for VfB Stuttgart after they saw off Borussia Mönchengladbach, with Undav getting the away side up early on, and then an equaliser from Azam Playa. But it was Demi at the double. So, new signing, Erdin Demirovic, getting 2 goals in quick succession, both being set up by the excellent Reader, who I was really excited about from a signing perspective, and that has just enhanced it very much so. I thought he had an excellent game also, and it was enough to see Stuttgart home against Gladbach 3-1, very much a needed win to really ignite Stuttgart's season ahead of a minor trip over to Madrid on Tuesday, which I'm sure we'll talk about in a moment. And finally, the last game of the weekend was also a 2-1 scoreline, but this time it was Mainz who suffered against 10-man Werder, so a really important win for them. Dusk getting a penalty for Bremen after a bit of not so smart play in the area to create the foul. Forget who it was who made that tackle. But Lee managed to get in after a bit of a mistake. Well, definitely a mistake by Werder. Sorry, losing my trail of thought there. Friedel was then sent off for Werder, and you would have thought that Mainz would have gone on strongly, but yet another new boy. We're seeing, loads of new faces doing really, really well, which is excellent. Derek Cahun scored for Werner's Werder on the break to make it 2-1 and earn a vital away win for Bremen. So, Peter, any more thoughts on those two games before we move on to a bit of Champions League chat? No.
Reader looks very good, although I have to say Luca Netz needs to learn how to defend. That's all I have to say on those two games. And congratulations to Köln. That's his first, the former FC Bayern Academy man. He was supposed to be the next big thing once upon a time, and now he scored at the age of 25 in his Bundesliga debut.
Not too bad. Excellent stuff. So, we've got about 10 minutes, give or take. What we're going to do is we're just going to run through the 5 teams that we have from a Bundesliga perspective, look at their fixtures, their 8 fixtures, so 4 home, 4 away, just kind of eye it up a little bit and just offer a mere prediction as to how far we think they might go. So, we will start off with Bayern. So, their fixtures are Dinamo Zagreb at home, Villa away, Barca away, Benfica home, PSG home, Shakhtar away, Feyenoord away, and then home to Bratislava. Peter, I'll let you lead on this one just for a minute or so. Just run us through how you think that set of 8 look, whether it's the order or just the general strength of the opposition, and then offer us up where you'll think they'll finish in terms of top 8 or the playoffs or entirely missing out, and then therefore after how much further you think they'll get, say semis or quarters.
Okay, so we'll do it this way then. I think, let's see, I think we get 6 points out of the first two. Yeah, and you can finish up probably with 9 points strong off of those three. That's a top 8 finish, followed by, I would say, the semis. I happen to believe in Bayern this year. Yourself?
I've gone top 8. Very much agree with what your logic is there. I think they'll get 15 points from those 5 games. With that tricky middle period, that might make them wobble a little bit, especially if they do wobble and then having to go away to Shakhtar could be interesting. But I would favour them to get top 8. And then I've gone for quarterfinals and out. So, yeah, not quite as far as you think. I very much am always backing the German sides in Europe and want them to do well, especially when we're talking about coefficient rankings as well. But maybe less of a focus on it this year. Yeah, so that's where I reckon Bayern will jump out of the competition. Next up, we'll look at Dortmund. Dortmund then are starting away to Club Brugge, then home to Celtic, away to Madrid, so Real Madrid, home to Sturm Graz, away to Dinamo Zagreb, home to Barca, away to Bologna, and then at home to Shakhtar Donetsk. So again, if I kind of lead off on this one, I'd say, strong start again. So probably 6 points with Brugge and Celtic. Away in Madrid, you wouldn't expect much, but obviously a rematch from the Champions League final, of course. The next few games, Sturm Graz and Zagreb should be wins, with a tricky end of Barca and Bologna. So again, I am saying top 8 and out in the quarterfinals. So I am mirroring what I've said about Bayern. Just think they'll struggle from a squad rotation point of view towards the end. But yeah, Peter, what do you reckon to your predictions for Dortmund's Champions League campaign?
It's a tough one. It's a very, very favorable and easy schedule, but it is Dortmund. And we're also probably discussing a team that, once again, is not the deepest and not the best balanced. So I will go ahead and mirror your predictions and say top 8 quarterfinals. But looking at this now, I'm suddenly a lot less optimistic about their form in the league. I think that they might prioritize this over the league, and that might cause some issues.
Yeah,
in league play.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's interesting. I think they will have to focus on one. And I haven't made up my mind yet in terms of which one they'll go for. After such a poor Bundesliga campaign, I'd be shocked if they downed tools, but probably the wrong wording. Next up, the German champions, Leverkusen, go away to Feyenoord. Then they host AC Milan, and then twice on the road, first to Brest and then Liverpool. They then have 2 home matches against RB Salzburg and Inter Milan. And then finish up with an away trip to Atletico Madrid and Sparta Praha at home. So, Peter, lead off on this one, if you will.
Well, the reason Xabi stayed is because he wants to win the Champions League. There wasn't much else for him to win. Well, let's see. Yeah, I guess when it comes to squad rotation, they're going to prioritize this. Yeah. But I'm a little bit worried, as I am about Stuttgart with Leverkusen, that they have problems maintaining leads. So I'm going to go ahead and say playoffs here. And then playoff winners go to, do we have a round of 16? Yes, we do.
So yeah, playoffs, then round of 16. Yeah.
Okay. All right. And then round of 16 is what I'm going to say on this one.
Interesting. Okay. So I agree. I think they'll have to go through the playoffs, but I'm then backing them to get to the quarterfinals. So one better. I was tempted to even put semi-finals because, like you say, I think they'll prioritise the Champions League. I think Xabi very much wants it. So I'm in an R in. I could see them getting the semis. there. So next up, we'll cover RB Leipzig. So they will travel away to Atletico first up. Then they host Juve and Liverpool consecutively. Then travel to Celtic and Inter Milan. Then a home tie against Villa. Then a home tie against Sporting, and then finish up away to Sturm Graz. This is a hard set of fixtures. This is tricky for Leipzig. I mean, starting up, they'd be happy with 3 points after 3 games and still be in the mix. But then you travel to Celtic Park and Inter. Not easy at all. Villa at home, they'll have to win. Sporting at home, they'll have to win and then go to Sturm Graz. So I think Leipzig might well be outside of the playoffs come match week 6, at the start of match week 6. And then I think they'll blitz up 3 wins in a row and qualify via the playoffs. And I have said that they will go out in the round of 16 thereafter. Peter, what's your verdict on Leipzig?
I will mirror that. It is a brutal schedule. It is the most difficult of any of the 5 German Champions League representatives. But let's not forget how incredibly deep this team is, particularly with all of the late signings that they got, like Nusa, for example, and Vermeeren and all of this. I think, playoffs, round of 16 exit sounds about right.
Lovely stuff. Next up, and quite delightfully, we get to talk about VfB Stuttgart in the Champions League. Their first match is just a gentle trip away to the Champions League winners and record holders Real Madrid. They then follow that up with a home tie against Sparta Praha, then away to Juve, home to Atalanta, and then away to Red Star or Cerveza, Cervina Cervedsta, if I can get my words out, home to Young Boys, and then away to Slovan Bratislava, and finish up with PSG at home. Peter, I'm going to hand the reins over to you, or else I'll just get carried away. So talk us through those games from a completely balanced point of view. And you're on mute.
Just courtesy that I mute myself. That's all. From a completely balanced point of view, well, I would say that Stuttgart is the only team in which the squad is kind of an issue, because they had so many players, so many new additions, that they couldn't take a good bit of because they have the rule that the youngsters have to be trained with the club for so many years in order to be doing it. And that's why you don't have a deal coming with he's injured anyway, and he hasn't really proven himself at this level. So I guess that's not a huge deal. Henriks, you don't have. Voltemada, you don't have.
Voltemada.
Yeah, you might like to have Voltemada instead of Castanares, but well, who knows? So there's a lot of Luca Raymond they took along, Samuel Di Benedetto. There's a lot of guys on there that and Dakiel they took along too, who we don't know when he's going to be fit.
Yeah.
So the squad here is problematic because you have few options. It's kind of like if it were a video game and Hoeneß finds himself behind and in need of a late impulse, all of the guys would be they wouldn't have pictures or they would have those generic,
Yeah.
So Rory, I don't know. This is not great stuff. I don't think we win at Real. You can get points off of Sparta, Atalanta, probably win against Red Star, definitely Young Boys. 3-3. Yeesh.
Bratislava away?
Did I say Bratislava? Yeah.
No, you didn't include them.
Okay. Yeah, you can get 3 points. So sorry. So you're looking at 3, 6, 9. Yeah.
borderline.
Yeah, maybe 2023, or maybe elimination in the group phase here is what I'm thinking. As a matter of fact, I'm sorry, but you know what? You've proven yourself a better tipper than myself, so go ahead and do that, and then explain your reasoning.
So I think, yeah, it's perfectly reasonable to have your concerns about the squads. I completely get that. From a draw perspective, I think it's about as kind as it could be. So yeah, Sparta, Atalanta, very good teams. It's just because it's at home, it gives you more confidence. Red Star, Young Boys, and Bratislava. You win, obviously, if you win those 5, then happy days. Madrid, PSG, and Juve are just bonus points. Yeah, it would be ideal if you didn't need to do anything drastic by match week 8 when you're hosting PSG, but they might have already qualified and they might not care as well. So I am predicting Stuttgart to go through via the playoffs and meet their doom in the round of 16. Just something funny, biased, whatever. Not saying quarter semi-final, but yeah, just have a feeling that the home matches will just be so, I think, intense, and there's going to be such joy of the squad playing in there. There might be a few fixes and a few bumps along the road in terms of consistency and Bundesliga form, perhaps. I think VfB fans can maybe accept whether it's a sacrifice of being mid-table and not having European football next season to have a good run of the Champions League. I don't know. Depends what your average VfB fan is saying. But yeah, fancy Stuttgart to go through and get knocked out thereafter. But very much looking forward to tomorrow night and that first game. It will be excellent, I am sure. So yeah, that's us. That is the 5 teams. Bit of Champions League chat to finish it up tonight. So it's been great fun to talk all our way through tonight's show. So we'll close up for this evening. So just a reminder as well that you can find us on all good audio platforms if you like to absorb your Bundesliga footy that way. Make sure to leave a like on the show. Obviously, we haven't had much chat tonight, but if you've missed the show live, by all means, please do leave a comment and we will pick that up. Subscribe, turn on those notifications. And of course, if you want to find us on social media, just go to @OverTheBarFB and @VillageFooty20, and you can find us on Instagram as well. So thank you to everyone for watching and enjoying along with us tonight. We will see you back on Thursday for match week 4 predictions. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next time. Cheers all.